Welcome and thank you for giving us your time this afternoon for Build a Role Play in a Day with ZebraZapps. My name is Steve Lee and I'm one of the co-founders of Allen Interactions, and I'll be the main presenter today. I have along with me Christopher Allen, who's the product manager of ZebraZapps. And as you guys are typing in questions in the chat, he'll be taking a look and letting me know if there's anything that we need to address right away. And he'll also be adding color commentary as we go.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm happy to join Steve today and would like to thank everybody for taking a few minutes out of their day to take a look at our webinar.
And we are very proud of the fact that we are celebrating our 20th year this year. It was back in 1993 that a group of us started Allen Interactions, as we have, been called one of the industry-leading blended learning development services companies, and we've been able to build some very successful and we feel highly engaging and interactive solutions for quite a few customers in a number of different industries. Been able to do solutions in the hospitality industry, technology, sales, customer service. And something that we've noticed through all of these is that these companies seem to have a great need for training people in human interactions. And those interactions may be sales, they might be customer service. We've done some with doctor-patient. But it just seems to be something that everyone is interested in. And we have put together some wonderful examples over the years, so we felt that this would be a wonderful opportunity for you to see some of what we've been able to build, as well as getting a peek behind the hood of ZebraZapps, our newest authoring system, to show you how we're able to build this type of interaction very quickly and create a reusable learning object that we feel is incredibly productive and be able to develop these types of human simulations in, as we feel, a day or less. So just to give you a little bit of background of ZebraZapps, over the years we have seen people using tools like PowerPoint to simply take their slides and throw some multiple choice questions on the end and then move them up to the web. We've also seen tools, programming tools like Flash or HTML5, even Objective-C, where people are able to do highly interactive simulations and games, scenario-based learning that we feel really hits the bar of what we should be shooting for, but they often take way too long and are prohibitively expensive to build. We've been developing at Allen Interactions for a couple decades in pretty much every major tool that's on the market. So we have experience in all of these tools. And one of the reasons that we came up with ZebraZapps is we wanted a system that you could build wildly interactive learning environments, as interactive as anything in the programming tools or beyond. But with the advent of the rapid authoring tools, being able to find the same or better productivity with these template approaches without running into what we feel is the glass ceiling. Those tools give you the ability to build very specific types of learning very quickly, but if you're wanting to go beyond what they offer, then you either have to become a programmer or you have to sort of give up on interactivity for what the tool allows you to do. So we really feel that ZebraZapps covers the entire spectrum, and we'll show you under the hood, and we feel that compared to programming tools, I don't think anyone has ever sold Flash by demonstrating action script, but being that ZebraZapps is a visual tool and does not require programming, then we can't wait to show you how we build things from scratch in ZebraZapps. So what are we going to talk about in our short time together? First, we're going to talk a bit about what we feel makes a good role play, and to be honest, what makes a good role play would make a very good learning interaction no matter what it was, whether it be a game, simulating hardware, taking someone through a procedure or a process. But we think it's important to know what we're shooting for, because if you know what good learning can be, then you'll see the benefits that ZebraZapps offers. Then we're actually going to explore a very complex and dynamic role play and show you the components that we've been able to build in, and then jump into the editor and build it from scratch in front of you in just about 10 minutes. Then once we've built the role play, we'll show you how we can create a template that can be used by subject matter experts, instructional designers, people who don't need to learn Zebra, though we believe that Zebra was built for pretty much any level of a developer or instructional designer, that they could use it, again, without programming. After that, we'll go through some of the benefits of ZebraZapps that we weren't able to show you in the role play, and talk about some of the free training and other support packages we have. So if anyone is very interested in working with ZebraZapps, we'll do everything we can to make that as easy as possible. And then any next steps so that you can contact us to move forward. All right. Now, to us, good learning contains 4 very specific components: context, challenge, activity, and feedback. We like to call it CCAF, and ASTD, the American Society of Training and Development, has allowed Allen Interactions to build an entire e-learning certificate program, and we deliver that either live or online, and that is all based around CCAF. So at a very high level, you can see this slide, and we would say, please capture this slide, use this as a guide for you. We believe that if you see any designs that we've done that you like, use them. You know, we would love to see the industry raising the bar in interactivity. So to start off with, we feel good designs contain context. The simple way of saying it is everything is a scenario, if at all possible. Please put people in a day in the life, a week, a year in the life. Make them feel as though the challenge they're about to face is exactly as it would be on the job. What is their goal on the job? What are they hoping for? Are they trying to increase sales, make customers happy? Are they trying to show empathy? Are they trying to solve problems? You know, put them in the context of this is what you need the information for.
And Steve, how is challenge, as you're describing here, different from what most people might see in a pretty traditional e-learning course?
Well, challenge being that it's risk-based. For example, we do a lot of training in the mobile device field for new products. The challenge might be you need to sell this phone. But not only do you sell it, but you have to sell the right phone, because when they go home, if it doesn't work for them, they won't come back. In fact, they might return the phone. They won't tell their friends about the phone. So the challenge would be perhaps making sure you know the right product benefits and features, and during a sales call, you apply them correctly. You sell them the right phone. You explain the features so that when they go home, they have a good experience. And that goes beyond which of these features should you sell this customer, A, B, or C. It's, you know, did you sell them in the right way? So the challenge goes much deeper. And again, for those people that do role plays live, that's the kind of challenge you end up with when you're doing that. And most people don't think you can put that in e-learning, and we think you can. All right, the next part would be activity. And in that challenge, we want to put them in that environment that if it looks like a storefront, if it looks like an office, if they've got a customer in front of them, whether it be an avatar or photos or even video, that the choices they make are the same types of choices they'd have to on the job, that whatever thought processes they would go through. You know, something that's interesting in our studies is people tend to make mistakes not only because they don't know what to do, sometimes they think they know better, that they feel that common sense would be a better choice than what they had in training. By putting them in a realistic activity and then being able to make those choices and then see the consequences of those, then they understand that there was a reason for the knowledge you're trying to send on to them. And then feedback, and this is something that we feel we are unique at. We really believe you should not tell people the answers before you ask them the questions. If I tell you how the role play should go, if I tell you you should always do this and you should never do that, 10 seconds later you're in the role play and you won't make a mistake. Well, the truth is the only people that should not make a mistake in a role play are people who don't need the role play to begin with. So we like to hold back information, let people make choices, see the consequences, and in the feedback, a coach or a mentor giving you guidance on well, this is what you did right or wrong, and next time you can do better. Giving them specific guidance, and then having them practice, having them have to do it again more than once. Is something that we feel is very important. So let me get back to that slide. Hold on just a second. All right, so Chris, does anyone have any questions out there about CCAF before we move forward?
No, we just have a few people who are typing in asking about some GoToMeeting questions, and please continue to do so. But I think we're ready to take a look at the role play.
Okay, great. All right, so just as a quick reminder, we have my little CCAF cheat sheet so I don't forget. So the first thing of CCAF was contact, which is place them in an authentic scenario with specific behaviors to perform. So in this situation, you are a doctor and your goal is to motivate Lucy to follow the diet and exercise plan you prescribe. It isn't what is the right plan. It isn't make her happy. It isn't make her your best friend. It isn't make her think you're smart. It's specifically when she leaves. And she might tell you she will do whatever you ask, but the reason they put this training together is because the patients weren't. They would have follow-up appointment after follow-up appointment, and they would not have followed the plans. So that's the context. The next part of CCF is the challenge. So being your challenge is to increase her motivation to follow the plan. We have a meter. This is like a dashboard that's on the screen. And as you are making correct choices, this will go up. You will also get to visually see facial expressions of Lucy. And not only can you see what she's saying, but you can see what she's thinking. And so our goal is to get her to think, I'm going to give this a try. The next part is the activity. Again, we want to simulate the job. This is your job. You are the doctor. You are presented with a patient, and you have to decide what to say. On the left, we have something called the negotiation roadmap, and part of this training was to get them to understand there is an order of these conversations. Opening, negotiating, exploring, even closing the encounter. And so we're having them go through these conversations to go from beginning to end. As you can see, we have three choices. You need to pick one of them, but they're almost identical. And what we will not tell you is what you should do. What we want you to do is read them. For example, the first one is, we're here together to talk about weight management. Where would you like to start? You agreed to meet today about weight management. Is it okay if we spend 15 minutes? And let's start talking about weight management. Where would you like to start? One of the learning objectives is always make sure that you get agreement to move forward, and they look like they all do that. They all seem very subtle, and so the only way I will know is I have to go ahead and commit and pick one. So maybe I'll say, let's talk about your weight management problem. Where would you like to start? Because I'm asking her. And she says, I don't know. And in fact, her motivation is dropped. And what she's thinking, I may be overweight, but I don't have a problem. And the coach is giving you very specific feedback about the dialogue, and that you need to consider identifying yourself and asking her. This is the learning that most people would have put before that question. We're putting it after. And then, being that you made a mistake, we're not going to say try again. You're going to have to finish this and try to recover, but you're going to have to do this again, and that is going to be a way that you will make sure not to make the mistake the second time. We actually have students with pen and paper writing these down. And people say, isn't that cheating? Like, how is learning cheating? Taking notes is a really good way to learn. So now I have to recover. These three choices are completely different than the three choices I would get from one of the other answers.
So in this case, you're not, as the user, you're not only getting a chance to practice the right way to do things, but you're also getting an opportunity to paint yourself into a corner. And that could be a big learning moment for a lot of people, is to see the consequences of what happens when you do it really wrong.
And in fact, we would like these doctors to experience how bad it can get, and hopefully they'll say, I've never had a patient as bad as the one I had in training. Mm-hmm. All right, so I will take another choice. Now she's silent, and the coach is telling us we missed an opportunity to find out the patient's thoughts, and we'll write that down as a note. I don't want to make that mistake again. We have many programs here, so we have a chart, a poster that you can show her and say, you know, do you have any questions about any of these? And at this point, we're stopping because we're in a webinar. The real application actually has you go between 7 and 10 choices deep. So there are 81 possible feedbacks, and we stopped it at 3 because we only have 9. Now, being that you didn't do this perfectly, you have to do it all over again. And you have to repeat this over and over. And again, we don't think anyone should have been able to get it right the first time except for people that already knew how to do this. So the second time through, we'll make some different choices. So perhaps this time we'll pick the second one. If I remember, we agreed to meet and we want the 15 minutes, and that was good. Her motivation went up. She seems a little happier. I'm not sure, Sue. Even here, she's saying, I'm not sure I want to do this. You might think that was a bad answer, but actually this was the best answer. Then we can pick another one. Last time we talked about you want to lose weight. How's that fitting in your life? She seems sad. I wish there was some easy way I could lose weight. And then we'll pick the first one, and that actually, for those 3 in the shortened version, was the right path. So she's happy, your motivation's as high as it can go, and now we'll complete this and let you move on to the next step. So I'll stop there and see if anyone has any questions.
We have just a few questions about the CCAF certificate class, and I'll put the link to the URL where you can find out more about our ASTD-led classes through the chat window so everybody can see that. But so far, everybody's noting how much they're enjoying the webinar.
Okay, great. All right, now I've jumped into the actual ZebraZapps editor itself. So just at a high level, and as you'll see, we have free classes for anyone that wants to use ZebraZapps to go over all of this. But at the highest level, what we're taking a look at is what we call the event flow in Zebra. And so what we've got is we've got master pages. So if anyone is familiar with PowerPoint, you know there's masters, multiple backgrounds, multiple layouts. You can have multiple masters, and in the masters can be backgrounds, they can be navigation buttons, menu buttons, forward and back buttons, and then you can choose on any one of the events which of the masters you want to apply. Here's a blank one that we're going to start, but as you can see as we go through, we've got some other events, and we can have as many of these as we want. So once we build one scenario, we're going to be able to create that as a reusable object and then copy and paste it. And that is where the real power comes in from productivity, is once you build a scenario template to create more and more and more of these, it's blindingly fast. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start here. So this is a master. Now I'm going to kind of go backwards, so we're starting from scratch here. So when you start with ZebraZapps, let's say you have nothing in the background, and so what you'll notice is your event has nothing, the master has nothing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to import assets into this project, and I can simply do that with project import asset. And my artists and media department have allowed me to import a number of things. They could have put videos, sounds, any graphic format, text. I can bring those in, and once I do, we have a really nice asset library here in Zebra. And then these are assets that you can bring into your project, and no matter how many times you use them, they're all pointing back to one. So at any time you can replace every one of them in your project with one motion. So I'm going to grab the background.
And while you're doing that, Steve, one of the attendees asked, how customizable are the masters in ZebraZapps? And while we're putting on a background here, master pages can include really complex interactivity that you want to have repeated throughout your course. It can also hold things like navigation elements, or you could even choose to have your motivation meter continue and build across multiple events. So that could also go in a master. They're really quite powerful and can be applied in front of or behind your content. So they can be foreground or background.
Right, and so very quickly, to be a little adaptive here, what I'm doing is I have a button that I've created, and the button, and then I've been able to put in the patient summary for Lucy. And so what I can do is this button can be checked on and off. And I can say that the check state of this button, as I point to Lucy, will be able to control her visibility. So let me zoom in on that so you can see what I've done. Is this checkbox has got a message center. And the message center shows all the properties about this button. You know, values, if it's checked, the visibility of this button, even the geometry of the button. And what I've been able to do is say the check state of this button is tying into Lucy's profile. And I've said that when the button is checked, then her profile should show up. One of the other things that I can do is I can go to the graphic button, and then I can actually take an image and I can just drag it over the top, and now this button looks like Lucy. And I'll just take away the label. I don't need that anymore. And then I'll go back to where I was, and now I have this nice button. And this is actually in my master. And so throughout, everywhere. Now, this is in a master that is a background. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take it out of there. I'm going to add a background and simply paste it in.
So you just created a brand new master, and now you have two masters that can be applied in combination to any event.
Right. So as you can see, I have two masters. And if I go into one of my events, which is here, I can simply add that master. And now in this event, I have included a button that when I run this, I now have created a navigation button that will bring a pop-up. Now, one of the other things that I want to do, though, is I want to be sure that this master page is a foreground. If not, it's going to come up behind everything. So now it's going to end up coming up in front of everything, which you can visually see here.
Very cool.
All right, so that actually is, it's unbelievable how fast we can do something like that. All right, now if you remember the role play, one of the very first things that we had is we had a patient on the screen. So I'm going to go back into my library, and I'm going to find Lucy. Let's see, a nice neutral Lucy. Drop that on. And then, again, as you see, we have the message center. And so if I zoom in on this, you'll be able to see that I have all of the properties, including the spill graphic. And the nice thing is, you know, if I wanted Lucy to look differently, this is how I can simply replace her object. And then I'll put her back to neutral. So this is simply just changing the property of her fill graphic.
And I'll point out that you can create graphics, of course, inside the ZebraZapps system. We've got all sorts of shapes, and you can create paths and that sort of stuff for quick sketching. And you can also import it, as we've done here, JPEGs, PNGs, SVG files, video, audio, lots of different choices for getting assets inside your project.
So what I'm doing is I'm just dragging a rectangle, as Chris was talking about, and I'm going to create my motivation meter. And I'm just going to call that motivation. And that will gauge how happy Lucy is based on my choices. We also had something where we could see what Lucy was saying, so I'm going to grab the little she says bubble graphic, and I'm going to grab a text tool, and I am going to start her off, and she was just saying hi. And so this is says. We had a coach on the screen. So I'll put a little text here. Choose an option to begin. And I'll say that this is the coach. And some of the things that you'll be able to see up here is it's very easy to change the color. We have so many features, such as we can actually have you pick a color on the screen. You know, and that will set the color. We can change the size very easily. And there's the coach. And one last thing that I will do is we had choices. So I'm just going to grab a button, and I'm just going to make a choice. Now, these choices are the things you can say, and they're actually very detailed statements. We had the subject matter experts create what we call a content grid. If any of you as a child had a Create Your Own Adventure book, and you would read along and you get to a page where it would say, if you want to go down this path, turn to page 7. If you want to go this way, turn to page 9. You could have 10, 20 different ways of getting through the book. So the way we've created this is the same way. We are on page 1. These are the 3 choices that you could say to Lucy, and if you pick the first one, you're going to go to page 2. And then on page 2, you have 3 different choices, and so on. So I'm actually going to grab this and copy it. And I'm going to come back over here, and I'm simply going to paste that in. And then we had said that this button right here, if we click it, is going to go to page 2. So again, I'm going to zoom in on that so you can see that I have basically, the label is what I pasted into the button, and the value of the button is the 2 because that's the page we wanted to go to. All right, now, the way that we get this to act like our spreadsheet, the way we get it to act like a Create Your Own Adventure book is with something we call a state table. A state table is one of the options on the tool palette, and it will allow me to draw something that looks just like a spreadsheet. Now in the spreadsheet, we were taking the value of the button and we were able to just put it in the spreadsheet. We're able to take the label, what one of our choices are. We could actually go here into Lucy and we could take what she looks like and we can add that.
And just for people who are viewing here ZebraZapps for the first time, what Steve is doing is he's connecting all of these different properties from multiple objects into the state table so that he can control their values in different variants of this interaction. So as we start making choices here as a student, we might want to change what the appearance of the fill graphic is. We want to change at the same time what Lucy happens to be saying or what she's thinking. We also want to be able to change how high or low her motivation is. And by connecting all of these properties into the state table, we have just one place that we need to go and look to see what the property currently, what its current value is, and to be able to make changes. And it makes it really, really fast to create these multiple different states or branches.
Right. So here what I've got is I put those in, and then this is the first state. I'm just going to click the plus right here. So let me zoom in again so you can take a look at what this looks like. So as you can see, zoom in. So you can see that for state 1, the first button would go to 2. This is what she's saying. This is what Lucy looks like. I'm going to click the plus. And by clicking the plus, I've created my page 2.
Or your second state.
My second state.
So the column happens to be the current state you're on and the values for all of those different properties. And the rows in the state table, that's each individual row is an individual property from any object. And of course, you can manage multiple properties from the same object in the table.
All right, so being that you picked this one, this actually might have been a really good answer. So I'm going to have Lucy be interested. I'm simply going to drop that on top of Lucy and replace it. I'm going to simply increase her motivation. I'm going to change what she's saying to, that sounds great. I can change the coach to saying, you were collaborative, whatever I want her to say.
And just by making these changes, they're right now getting recorded into the state table. So you don't have to manipulate the little cells. You get to still do everything visually right on the screen.
Right, and again here I can change, my next question. And again, everything is changed visually. So I've actually about 50% created a full template to do this role play. So what I'm going to do is like a cooking show. I am going to come over here, and this is the one that has been completely built out. And as you can see down here, our state table. That's got everything in it.
So you've got 16 different states.
And so we're keeping track of the destination of the 3 choices. We're keeping track of what the 3 choices are, what the patient looks like, what she's saying, what she's thinking, what the coach is saying, where her motivation bar is. And then when we get later, that when we get to the fact that you can actually get some feedback, we are now saying show the feedback, and then this is the feedback statement. So we know, and then this is where we're saying yes, you can show the continue button. They're allowed to move on. This is saying they've completed this unit.
And as an author now, you can, if you zoom out, you could click on each one of the different columns to see each different state, to see how the screen looks.
Right, so if you're here and you're saying that I want to pick the first one, I'll go to 3. From 3, you want to see picking 9. From 9, you want to see what happens when you go to 15.
And you can also do that by, of course, clicking the button. So if you were to go back.
If I was to go back and we actually were to click, so what I might have done is I might have turned that off. So I'm going to go ahead and let's go ahead and show that wire. So I actually did this on purpose. So in this choice right here, this one, which is the value of this button set, this is the one that says where I'm going to go, and I'm just going to wire it. This wire is now going to tell the state table.
Cool. And I saw it jumped all the way to...
You jumped to 4. So now when I come back, if I click here, I'm going to jump. I click there.
You moved
I'm
to
jumping.
2. Very cool.
Right. And so now it's working. So yes, Chris, I was going to do that. But that's all it took, is I just wired from the button into the state table and said that is now controlling which state you're on. All right.
Very
so
nice.
Any questions at this point?
Just a few, and then I can answer these for you. We had a couple questions about can video and audio be used in these scenarios, and absolutely. We just happen to choose a graphic and text representation, but you can bring in your own video. You can also stream it live from YouTube, and you could use short video clips to be each one of these scenarios if you wanted to.
Right, now I'm just showing you quickly that I could have had a video of Lucy instead.
Sure.
And you can either import video or a URL, as Chris was saying, and you can put this directly to a YouTube page or any media server that you happen to have.
Cool.
All right, wonderful. So I'll click continue. Now we're to the benefits of using ZebraZapps to create a role play. Specifically for role play, what we hope that you were able to see is it was very fast. Can you do these in some of the competitive tools? Yes, you actually could. Could you do it this fast? We don't think so. And if you could do it this fast, you probably aren't making it as dynamic as we did. You weren't making it so that you could have, in these, we had 27 possible choices. 3 choices off of each of the 3. We could have 100 different choices. Building that in a competing tool would take a lot of coding, or would be like creating PowerPoint with 300 slides and having to manage jumping from slide to slide. And they don't have the visual development that we have, the ability to do the object replacement just on the screen, change text, change graphics. A truly rich and dynamic interactivity without writing lines of code. As I was showing you in the example here, I'm going to do what no one would ever do in a coding language. That is everything. Those are all the message centers and all the wires that created this complete scenario. And this is what we believe in a day you would be able to do yourself. We'll talk more about that in a second. But that's everything.
So one more thing that you could, why don't you go back out to event flow? Oh, sorry. And so here we've got a completed interaction as the last event, and you can copy everything, right, and make a second version of this. So if you wanted to, so now we can see 2 completed side-by-side versions. And if you jump in, now you could replace Lucy with a new character, and with that structure already pre-built. This is something that you can reuse over and over and over again. Oh, sorry, I've pulled you a little bit off track.
All right, you've got to get back. All right, and then, so as Chris talked about the reusable interactions that you've created, feedback in the form of actual consequences. So the fact that we could have 21, 100 different feedback messages, and again, that's all just based on, no different than a Create Your Own Adventure book, that at the end here, we had 3 different feedbacks, but in the actual example we did with a client, they had, I think it was 20 different potential feedbacks based on your selections. And robust options allow anyone to create custom design. With those templates, we've actually had a lot of success getting these straight to subject matter experts. And yes, they first liked the fact they could work in a spreadsheet, but then when they saw that Zebra looked like a spreadsheet, and then when they found that they could actually go into Zebra and just change things on the screen, that we've had a lot of success in allowing anyone to actually go in and become a developer. All right, so we are starting a free new user class for anyone that is attending this webinar. And it's going to start, and it's going to be between December 2nd through the 6th, and it's going to be a build along. We'll give you all the assets. We will give you a trial account of Zebra so you can take the class before you have to buy. And we'll send you an email regarding the registration. And basically you would join, and then we would walk you over a week through understanding all of the basics in ZebraZapps we didn't have a chance to show you today.
And this class is great. I mean, it gives you an opportunity to, we've pre-designed a couple of interactions and we provide assets. So I know that, somebody trying to pick up a new system and try something new, oftentimes it's difficult to find that first project to start on. This class essentially eliminates all of those excuses for getting started, because we're providing you with the end goal in mind and the assets, and really a coach to help you learn all the new things that ZebraZapps allows you to do.
Right now, some people will ask, well, what does it cost? Well, we have three levels of ZebraZapps. There's Creator. When you saw us having multiple events so we could have multiple scenarios, the Creator only allows you to have one event, and people who are building apps, things that may put on Facebook or on their own website, they could build card games, anything that you could do on one event, which is quite a bit. That's the Creator level. The Professional level is what you saw us demonstrating, that has the event flow. You can publish privately. You can connect to learning management systems, which we didn't have a chance to show you. And then Pro Plus. And for people that want to be able to create a standalone application they can walk away with, they can put it on a Mac, a PC, or publish it out to a mobile device, the Pro Plus allows you to walk away with that final app without it having to be connected at all. And the prices for those? The Creator is $8.95 a month, the Professional is $39.95 a month, and the Pro Plus is $24 for a year.
$2,400 annually, absolutely. And so Zebra, of course, is offered, as you can tell, on a subscription basis. And if you roll off there, you can see that it comes with extra stuff. And we're happy to take questions that you might have offline about what the differences are between these 3 tiers of service. But certainly the one in blue and the one in orange are geared towards e-learning professionals.
Right. And then
we have had some questions about where can stuff be published to, and specifically does it publish out to SCORM and connect with this on my LMS? Absolutely. We include many different variants of SCORM, connect with almost all the LMS providers out there, and you have the choice of being able to, depending on the tier of service, put all of your package right there and host it off your LMS.
Right. And so here, very quickly, I'm showing the LMS window. And it's as simple as if you had a score, and we have this nice little tool called the slider, and pretend this ended up being what your score was, so you got 85 on an exam. You would simply just wire that up to the LMS object right to the score, and voila, 85 will publish to your LMS. And then where can you publish to? Let's go back to here. So when you go to publish, you can either publish directly to a website here, and then this can be a link that you give to your LMS. You can embed it directly in a web page, and here would be the embed tag. You can have a guest list. You could add people that you invite to see it. If you wanted to use the traditional approach, meaning you want to download a zip file that you then give to your LMS vendor, your IT department, you simply click here and you click Package for LMS, and it will zip it to your download folder. If you want to create one that you can put as a standalone on a Mac PC, or you want to publish it to a mobile device, here is the object to download that package. And we've even got links into social media for Facebook and Twitter. All right. Now, we do have some people that ask, well, I've got a large project. Do you guys do any kind of services to help? And this is one of our getting started packages that for people that have a full-on project, that we would provide 3 Pro Plus licenses. We'd come out to you and do an on-site training, and then do an additional 10 hours of development. So if you wanted us to build templates like we showed you, any instructional interactivity that you would like us to do, we would do that, and 10 hours of instructional design consulting. So if you wanted us to apply the CCF components to any of your designs, we'd be happy to do that as well. And so that is a full package price. And of course, this does then also include premium support and free training. So this one-day on-site training is above and beyond all of the free training and support we'd already provide.
And one of the cool things about Allen Interactions also being a services company as well as having a system like ZebraZapps is we have the ability to create a custom package for your organization. So this is one example of how we might work with you to really get started. But there's so much that we can do for you, and we'd be happy to entertain any questions that you have afterwards.
Now, putting this up, for any of you that are like me and say, I'd like to build that role play. That's why we said build a role play in a day, because if you send me an email and you say, I want to do this, then we will get you on a trial. I will send you the assets that you need. I will have online classes. I'm actually going to have a lunch on a Tuesday, a Thursday, a dinner Wednesday for a couple hours on a weekend, and you can come whenever you want. And I guarantee you, working with me, you will be able to build this yourself within a day. And then there's Chris's. Just if you want to bother him, there's his email right there. But if you want to try to build this yourself in a day, there's my email address.
Wonderful. Just reading through the last bit of questions, and like Steve, I'd of course like to thank you for attending today. And I really am happy to answer any questions as well offline, and please feel free to give me a shout via email.
All right, well, it looks like we have about a minute. So we'll just see if anyone has any last-minute questions.
Sure. A couple of questions have around what other things can you create with ZebraZapps. We certainly showed role play today, but of course you can build hardware simulators. You can build lots of stuff that isn't a traditional role play with avatars and such. There are many different things that you can create, and Zebra is quite flexible. So
right. We do a lot of software simulation training. Some large clients we have are doing hundreds of hours of training in multiple 17, 20 languages. So here is what Chris was talking about, just a little simulator where we've simulated this voltmeter, and you can set the dials, you can put the pins in, and then you can flip the switch and then judge your settings, and it will tell you you've gotten absolutely nothing right. So we've got a little hint here. I'm like, okay, well, at least I can get that there and this here, and then maybe this will go here, and I think that goes about there, and flip my switch again, judge my settings, and now still not quite there. So one last time, we'll go here, I'll try to go there, I'll flip my switch, judge my settings, and I finally got it.
Say, Steve, I've got one question that you certainly can answer here. Is Valerie asked, do we have any data to back up how effective, role play type interactions are in real life?
Right, and we do. We have a case study from AutoNation, and we'll make sure to include that in the email that we send out to everyone. So we did a very deep study, and the majority of the training we did with them was role play based. There's also some studies, and we'll see if we can get that link in, about it's the 70-20-10 rule, where they're showing that 70% of learning on the job actually comes from practice, and showing that if you have practice-based learning, which again is like the role play, where it's on the job, that if you're doing traditional learning, you're only getting 20-30% of the learning tops, and when they get on the job, they have not had the experience. They're sort of starting from scratch. There's also some studies that I'll see if we can find them about the increased amount of resources it takes as a supervisor when you have a new employee that has all the knowledge but has never practiced, how much time it takes to then spend mentoring them, and hopefully a role play would take some of that mentoring off the shoulders of the supervisors and allow that, and the social generation where they think, well, if I don't know, I'll just ask or Facebook somebody. We're really trying to get people to know how to do their own job without needing a village to do their job.
Steve, can you put our email addresses back up just in case?
There you go.
Cool. Well, thanks everybody for joining. I know we've reached the end of our 45 minutes here today. I'm happy to stay and answer text questions through GoToMeeting. Otherwise, please give us a shout on email regarding any next steps.